Hello, beautiful humans. I'm Jen Madrone, and tonight I want to talk about the struggle, or what feels often like a struggle, to release the egoic self. Because what often happens is that we have an experience, an awakening experience, an egoic death experience, and we get a glimpse of what it is like to live a life beyond the ego. We get a glimpse of the authentic self. We get a glimpse of the truth and how much bigger life is beyond the illusion of identity and the illusion of the ego. And it opens our eyes, it wakes us up, and we start the search for how to get back to that place, how to stay in that place, how to live from that place, and how to continue to peel the layers of the ego back, how to continue to release that control that the ego has over us. And often, as we do that, we find that the ego just seems to get louder. And, the ego lives and communicates through the mind. And so, really, it's the mind that starts to get louder and seemingly more aggressive and trying to talk us out of what we experienced, bringing doubts and fears to every aspect of our life. And it can make it challenging as we're trying to progress and transform and grow and really stay positive in the process. The ego can just be a real downer and be really depressing when we've had this amazing view and vision of what's possible, and the beautiful positivity that goes with that. And so the mind comes in, it starts playing its games, it starts with its loud dialogue, and actually it seems like it's just started, but it's been there the whole time. Only we're just now starting to recognize it. We're just now starting to hear it and listen to it because we now have this different perspective. We now have experienced more of a silent mind, more of a different way of seeing things. And so now we hear the mind, we hear the dialogue that goes on, and it seems almost intolerable at times. And, it's also because as we glimpse the truth and as we start to do the healing work of changing the old paradigm, of changing the old belief structure and the old programmings that are built by the ego, that the ego becomes insecure. It starts to feel and sense its demise. And so it gets louder. It uses whatever it can to hook you and trick you because it knows us well. It's been with us most of our life, so it knows exactly what our insecurities are, what our fears are, what our doubts are. And it's just those thoughts of the mind that become a little more aggressive. And so as we move through this process of transformation, we have to first take a step back and watch those thoughts and recognize them as just thoughts. There's nothing real about thoughts. They are illusions. They are the voice of the ego, and there's no truth in them. But if we engage and try to talk ourselves out of it, it's what I've said in the group before, that we can't fight the mind with the mind. We're just fighting the ego with ego. And so we take that step back. We watch the thoughts. We watch the dialogue. We don't try to fight it. We don't try to talk ourselves out of it. We just watch. And when we can take that step back, we detach from it, and we see that there's no truth in it, without having to work out that fact that there's no truth of it in our mind. We just simply realize it by observing, by being the witness of it. And when we do that, we're starting the shift from the ego into the authentic self. We're starting that shift of the power structure from the mind to the heart, because the heart is where the true self, the authentic self, resides. This is our original nature. However, through the course of our life, all of the events, everything that's happened, that power structure shifted, moved back up, moved up into the head, and now we're reclaiming that power for the authentic self. And so this word self can be tricky because we hear a lot of people say there is no self, and then we talk about the authentic self, and then you have to ask, like, well, I thought there was no self. And so it gets really confusing when we try to define words because there's so many different definitions for everything. And so for here, when we talk about the authentic self, we're talking about the true, eternal, infinite self that resides in the heart, who we really are at the deepest level. And when we talk about the ego, we're talking about the false self, the illusory self. And it's that self that we need to bring into the authentic self. So basically, the ego is being absorbed by the authentic self. And it feels like a death because there's a huge shift in this power structure, and the old self is dying. And so it will fight back and it will be challenging. But the more that we can cultivate the relationship with our authentic self, and also take that step back and not engage with the mind, the closer we will be in changing that power structure and moving back into that space of the heart and living a true and completely authentic life. And so, if you're feeling really challenged by the ego right now and by the endless thoughts in the mind and the ceaseless chatter, and you would like some help with this moving of the power structure, of cultivating this relationship with the authentic self, then please reach out to me and send me a private message, and we can talk and see if the work that I do with my clients would be a good fit for you. And if you have any questions, just leave them here in the comments. And thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for all the work that you guys are doing. And just want to say hi to Katie and Job and Eric, Alana, hello, and Josh, and anyone else who is there that I can't see right now. But thanks for listening and have a great night. And we'll see you in the Facebook group.